One word. Gamers. Gamers.
Video games. Games, video. Gamer. Gaming. Gaming products. Gaming things.
The game.
The gamer.
Esports.
Game.
Gaming industry.
Game.
Video game development. Yes, today we're talking about video game development, specifically on our game. Yes, the game by Tony Giachi Fu, Jonathan Jouneau, Oscar San. You see, our group,
The Stuffed Boys,
was tasked by the legendary Godfather Mr. Park, the ultimate teacher, to create a project best representing the skills and tools they learned in Python within the curriculum.
It is our final culminating assignment in the grade 12 computer science class.
And you bet that we chose a game. But why a game, you ask? Well, some of us actually want to hold jobs within the video game industry in the future, and it's no surprise that we decided to develop a game for this. We wanted the experience while also gaining the knowledge and the necessary development skills needed for future projects. But behind all this and the marks, it was because we love games. Video games bring us joy.
Oh my god. Oh
Can
my
actually,
god.
can actually, can actually.
Psych!
No! No!
Oh my god! My eyes!
They bring us compassion.
Yes, of course. $1 million for St. Jude.
This is $1 million from Twitch.
They bring out our competitive sides.
Let's go! Let's go, baby.
Alright, good game, good game.
Good game, good game. And most of all, we have fun playing them, and we wanted to make something that we would have fun with. So, what did the do with their game? What type of game did they make? What led them to make that type of game? Well, let's dive in to find out. The gaming industry today is exponentially growing larger and larger. It went from arcades in the 70s to 80s, hosting pixelated graphics, to the home game consoles and PCs that you can turn on and play with ease. In every sense, video games have evolved largely due to the technological advancements and talent that has appeared over the several decades. Their design aspects, gameplay mechanics, and settings are what reflects our current modern day video game revolution and has ultimately changed from what they were before. However, what hasn't changed from them are the core gameplay concepts that make up these different types of games. For example, a shooting game will always have some kind of weapon the player will be using, a health bar, and enemies to fight. Current modern day shooters have twisted their unique concepts and design around this solid base, like Overwatch implementing a hero-based system into its format with each character having their own unique weapon, abilities, and health bar. And also enemies too. Video games today still stick to the original gameplay concepts as back then, and that is what
The Stuffed Boys,
had discovered. But what do we do with this overpowered information? We took a look at ourselves and knew what we were capable of. We realized that we weren't proficient enough to create an industry-defining game with eye-candy graphics and innovating game design. We're just high schoolers, man. God dang it. We understood this and we made the decision of creating a simple game that houses the core concepts of its genre. But what type of game do we choose? Well, we wanted a game that was not too easy to code, but not too hard as well. So somewhere around the middle. A role-playing game would require us to create an overworld, a battle system, a variety of sprites, and a loot system. That would be too hard. A platformer would be too easy. All you have to do is code in a sprite there, a level design here, background there, enemies here. That's basically it. Every other game to us seemed like it fell on one of those lines. Until we were left on the tower defense genre. A tower defense game wasn't too hard to make as it had a very simple concept, to place towers in order to defend against a wave of enemies. However, it would prove a good challenge in creating its core mechanics, such as the tower system along with its various upgrades and types, and the ways of different enemy sprites repeatedly coming in using a specified path.
So what do we code our game in?
We had a couple of choices. One was Pygame and one was Unity. Get out of here. We're doing Pygame out here. We lacked any experience within Unity and decided to go into Pygame because Pygame supported Python, and Python is what we learned in class.
Bitches love the ground.
Oh wait, shit.
Dogs on the base.
In order to organize our thoughts, we created a mind map, which detailed the important objects that we needed to code into the game. The tower's attributes that we needed to code in would be the width, height, level, range, upgrade cost, sell cost, selected value, and menu. And of course we have the attributes down below such as move, click, sell, and upgrade, which are essential to moving the towers and interacting with them. The enemy's attributes will consist of the velocity, which is the speed they move in, their images and animations, their total health and path to the end of the border in which they would inflict damage to the player, and only move and hit were implemented down there since they would need to move and also need some way to hit the player, so we coded that in as well. And of course we planned things for the menu of the game which would hold the launchers and allow the player to interact with it so they can buy towers from it, as well as the projectiles that would accompany the towers, damage the enemies, and have its own speed. However, the yellow projectile box you see there had most of its stuff scrapped in development. We would also need to provide the background and sprites to accompany those objects, although these weren't the ones. We also covered what kind of towers and enemies there would be, with each type of tower dealing a different amount of damage and each type of enemy having different amounts of health. So right now I'll be going over a brief summary of what the code is right now. We coded the project in Replit, but we later installed Python into our computers since the game kept crashing on Replit. Here are all the Python files we had, which were worked on separately and then later on implemented into the main code, as well as the PNG files or image files for the sprites and animations. All of these variables here represent their different enemy types and their animations, and has empty lists as their values because they'll eventually retrieve their images from the files, which will be added into the list through a for loop. Here's where we give variables to the essential images needed within the game, such as the money and heart icons. And here we have our first piece of object-oriented programming, with our button being used as a way for the player to interact with the menu objects. There's an initialization under its class with all its attributes along with it, as well as the methods under the class for its functions within the game. The rest of this is pretty much object-oriented programming with a bunch of attributes and methods being used for different classes. The towers and enemies and level have their own class so that they can function on their own, and we can give them the important attributes they need within the game so that the game itself can function properly. And we utilize the while loop so that the game ends when the player dies. Now let's go run the demo. Finally, we are at the tech demo, the place where everyone wants to be. All this hard work accumulated over the past 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 months will all culminate here today. Look at how much, oh my god. The tests and debugging has been run. Everything has been fixed. Ignore those red things over there. Everything has been fixed. We are good. Now, it is time to run it. What will it be? What will happen? You'll just have to find out in 3. Oh? Okay. This is kind of my jam. Hey, place the tower. Defend our island. There's no island. Alright, let's seriously get into it. In the top left, the health represents the amount of life points you have, as well as the coin representing the amount of money you have to buy the towers, which are on the right. The tower menu holds each type of tower, and they do different amounts of damage. Oh my god. They can be placed anywhere on the map. I know it's broken, haha. We have programmed them to have a specific range. Oh yeah, these little guys, those are the enemies. They have their own health bar, as well as their own walking speed. Look at them little cuties just dying. They walk on their own programmed path, as intended to, and will only hurt the player once they reach this end of the border here. Also, they come in waves, obviously, and they are actually procedurally generated. Yes, our boy Jonathan actually delivered the, oh my god, the power, man. Our video game is called Journey to the Odd Temple, and it is a very fun game and experience. Just look what I did 10 seconds later. Oh my goodness, amazing. Overall, I think the project went pretty well. Jonathan, Tony, and I became a lot more comfortable with object-oriented programming. We managed to make a game that was not that hard to do, but it was also pretty challenging at the same time. Also, this was our first game ever made. Take that in. Another big success that we had was that we were able to polish our Python skills through Pygame. We were able to implement a lot of the stuff we learned in grade 11 and 12, such as for loops, while loops, obviously the object-oriented programming like classes, attributes, and methods, functions as well. Many things, man. Many things. But definitely what I'm most proud of is that we finished the game in time, and it turned out pretty functional as well. We thought we wouldn't get the towers implemented at first, which was our only failure with the project, I'm pretty sure. It was just that we couldn't implement the towers in our scheduled time. It was supposed to be done like around Friday. The thing is though, we depended too much on the Tech with Tim tutorials that it ended up becoming a lot more different from how we coded on Pygame. Oh, I remember. We had another failure where we just like, actually it was just time management. Our time management was pretty poor because of so many assignments and tests bombarding us at the same time that we weren't able to get on schedule. Personally, my experience with this project has given me a lot more respect to the developers at hand for my favorite video games, or just all video games in general. But I'm happy because this project has given us the necessary skills needed in the future if we ever want to go into computer science or game development. Thank you, Mr. Park. You know, give your boy Oscar, your shaboy Tony, and JJ, Jonathan Jouneau some good Gucci Gang marks, you know. I'm going to sleep right now. Actually, I'm not going to sleep. I have to edit this. And I will arigato gozaimashita. Thank you very much, Mr. Park. This project was wonderful, and yeah.